I genuinely, when I first met my partner, I thought I was done. I thought maybe I was never going to have sex for the rest of my life at like 47 years old, 45 years old. And then we did, and it was magical. And then it's been this journey with her about like, hey, this is really fun. Like it's not just kink or whatever. It's like we discuss everything and we have these like really great, I'm kind of speaking out of school here for Martha, but we discuss and we are very connected emotionally, and it really freed my sexuality to come out with a partner. And I just think that that's like maybe a pretty common journey for people who lose touch with their sex drive or their sexuality in general, where you don't feel safe maybe, or you don't feel seen or met, or you're not seeing the person in front of you.
Yeah.
I imagine that's kind of what your book is about.
Yeah, no, it definitely gets into that. I mean, it's very common. I hear from so many folks that I work with that they don't have any hope when it comes to their sex life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of the coolest parts of my job is to see people start to have an amazing sex life and like have things like it just take such unexpected, interesting turns, whether it's like, I'm queer now, or I'm polyamorous now, or I'm completely monogamous and I didn't know it and I want to be like married and like, have a kid, like whatever it is, like whatever the path is. But the reconnection with the body and connection with the person or people in the space with you is such a magical awakening.
I think it's so essential. And the fact that I thought I could live the rest of my life without it is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think it gets confused or conflated that people are like, well, you just love sex. I'm like, no, I do, but it's because of what it has become to me. Like I call them EBs, emotional boners. And that's an actual physical thing that happens to me when I feel connected to my partner. It doesn't even need to be in any sexual sort of frame of mind. It's just like, if I feel connected to you, I'm like, I feel that kind of charge or safety. It changed my whole life.
Yeah.
And the way I present, the way I feel about myself and the world, the way I approach other friends, the way I feel more open with people in general is the direct result from having a good sex life.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration, I think. And being okay with saying how important it is to me without feeling like, oh, I'm just a perv or I just want sex all the time.
And that trajectory from what you experienced as a kid, and I actually really relate to that and to that, like, I work primarily with complex PTSD and with developmental trauma, childhood stuff. My sexual trauma was bad enough, right? But like, it was more akin to the kind of thing you're talking about.
Right.
Like it's similar to my 11-year abusive relationship. It was covert abuse.
Yeah.
It was very hard to point and be like, this is happening.
Because we have this idea of what abuse looks like, right?
Right. And then when you are in a position at an being sexualized at an early age, and you're sort of flipping from like victim to perpetrator, that gets very complicated too.
For sure.
Yes, I've been in a number over the years of my life of abusive relationships, and some of them had some sexual abuse, but I've also been a jerk. You know what I mean? Like until I got sober, I cheated on everyone.
Me too. It was like just a part of my life. Yeah.
It was just exactly.
Yeah.
And I justified it.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I had a lot of narcissistic tendencies that were coping mechanisms based on what I experienced as a kid, which thank goodness I don't have a personality disorder, because I've been able to like learn to apologize and learn to take accountability.
Accountability, man.
I remember the feeling of everything sucks and everyone's doing something wrong and they're doing this to me and they're doing this to me and they're doing this to me and I should get what I want. And the feeling of deep sorrow and misery inside of me that lifted once I realized I needed to stop being the problem. But the thing is it's complicated because it doesn't take away from the fact that I also experienced abuse, right? Or you also experienced abuse.
That's where it gets really complicated.
So it's a delicate thing. But yeah, I think when it comes to these sort of complex and nuanced experiences like you're describing, that trajectory is not uncommon of getting to this place where it's just like, well, I don't want to engage with this anymore. This part of my life, like Pema Chodron went off and became, a nun, became a monastic because she was like, I'm done with romantic relationships.
Right.
Because it is really hard work. And when you just feel like you keep smashing your head against a wall or smashing someone else's head against the wall, I mean, I don't mean literally in this case, but like it gets to the point where it's like, well, what's the point? So to be able to come out of that and to recognize like, oh, I can open myself up, open my heart, open my mind, open my body, open my creativity, because sex is so
the fun of the creativity is like,
fun.
yeah, and that all requires communication, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't just go off on a fun journey by yourself in a bedroom with your partner. It's like, what are we doing today? What do you want to try tonight?
Exactly. Yeah. Communication's the number one thing. I mean, when I work with couples as well, and when couples come to me with like, okay, we have the sex problem, it's always a communication problem.
Yeah.
If it's not medical, which it's not because they're coming to me, they've already checked out that, then there's something underlying. But sometimes it can be pretty simple, and it can be addressed pretty simply. But most of the time, I mean, I work with people generally long term because we're working with a complex set of things when we talk about sex.
Yeah.
Because most people have sexual trauma of some kind.
Yeah. And it's been a life of like a compilation, right? Like I realized you don't just wind up at a place sexually. It's like there's all these contributing factors through the years. And a lot of it for me was my actions. I felt so guilty for a lot of the shit I did.
Yeah.
And spent so much time punishing myself. We're talking about beating yourself up. I think I really believed that I didn't deserve a healthy sex life or a quote unquote normal sex life. And then as far as communication, there were things about myself sexually that I never expressed to a partner because I didn't feel, and again, that's not my ex's problem. I didn't know how to bring some stuff forward. And this is so common, but like once I did with my partner, it's like joy. And then a lot of the stuff around that kink went away.
Right.
Because I was just like sitting on it for so long, pun very much intended, where I was like, I don't know how to fucking, what is it? And then like, experimented with a few things. I was like, the heat around that's kind of gone.
Yeah.
It's something I've accepted about myself that I have these kinks, but it's like, it also doesn't hold the same import anymore because I've explored it.
It sounds like you've removed the shame.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a journey in itself. Yeah. Sex, I think, takes over everything when you're not having it.
Or when you're having it.
No, but I mean in a very out of control. Like I felt like I was flailing, and all I could think about was like my sexual sort of shortcomings, or like what wasn't happening, or what I wasn't having, or just giving up, or feeling depressed, or the way I carried myself. I just feel like when you're not engaged in sex or in a healthy way, it took over my whole brain. Like all I could think about.
It's a massive part of being human.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's not the first time that I've been on a podcast where they've said, we don't talk enough about sex here. We want to talk about it. We don't talk about it enough, and we don't talk about it in a meaningful way enough. And that the thing you shared really I find really moving, of like realizing that it was okay to name the things that you wanted. To be like, this is what I want to try. And then that's the only way you find out if you really want to do something.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, in between
like
consenting adults.
You can fantasize about myriad of things, right? But like,
yeah.
you have to try some stuff to know if it's actually what you want. Because fantasy, I've learned this as I've gotten older, is like, fantasy isn't always better when it's acted out. It might just exist in a better place just fantasizing about it by myself. But you will never know until you try some things. And like, I actually found old journal entries when I was going through my initial separation with my ex, where I wrote how I like a speech I wanted to give to her about the things that I felt like I wanted to be brave enough to tell her and wanted to try. It was really sad to read. It was like, because those things now are things that I can readily communicate. I mean, even here on my podcast, I'm talking about, but I felt such secrecy and shame about the things that I wanted to ask my partner of 23 years at that time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part about talking about sex is like, hey man, it's all okay.